Hello friends, welcome. Imagine you are traveling alone through an unfamiliar town at night. There is no one to guide you, and you have no idea which way to turn. It is deeply confusing. Now imagine a device is placed in your hands, like a GPS. It tells you exactly where you are, clearly shows your destination, and guides you step by step through every single twist and turn. How incredibly helpful would that be? Our journey of life is very much like that. Who are we? Where does our consciousness begin? What is its peak? We are traveling down an unfamiliar path, with many such questions. To keep us from losing our way on this spiritual journey, we have a cosmic GPS. It is the Mandukya Upanishad, gifted to us by ancient rishis thousands of years ago, specifically, its 12 concise verses. Previously, we explored the 4 states of consciousness individually: waking, dreaming, deep sleep, and the 4th state, turiya. Today, let's step back and take a bird's-eye view of the entire structure of this Upanishad. These 12 verses are not just randomly stacked chants. They form a highly sophisticated, elegantly designed blueprint. Just as a blueprint is essential before building a grand structure, these 12 verses serve as a complete framework for attaining enlightenment and realizing your true self. It is a spiritual algorithm. The very first verse of this Upanishad encapsulates its entire essence. Om ityetadaksharamidam sarvam. Om, this eternal syllable, is all this. What was, what is, and what will be. Everything is Om. And whatever exists beyond the threefold dawn of time is also Om. That is the first verse. The second verse follows. Sarvam hyetad Brahma. I am Atma Brahma. All this is Brahman. This self, Atman, is Brahman. These 2 verses serve as the ultimate conclusion of the Upanishad. The destination is stated right at the beginning. After establishing the final goal in the first 2 verses, the remaining 10 verses explain step by step how to reach it. It is a magnificent journey. How does the Upanishad begin this journey? It doesn't confuse us by speaking of something distant or incomprehensible. It starts right where we are. An experience we encounter every single day. Our waking state, Jagrat. The waking state, the waker and the known. The 3rd verse calls us in the waking state, Vaishvanara, and uses the term Bahish Prajna, meaning externally conscious. Our awareness is entirely directed toward outer objects, mountains, trees, people, and buildings. In this state, 2 entities exist: the knower, you, and the knowable, this world. As long as these 2 exist, there is a sense of separation, the core truth of dependence. Here, the Upanishad reveals a foundational truth. That which depends on something else for its existence does not truly exist on its own. Think about it. A stone you see outside exists in your experience only because your eyes perceive it, and your mind labels it as a stone. Without your senses and mind, where is that stone in your immediate experience? Therefore, the existence of the external world depends entirely on you, the knower, to be known. Anything that relies on a secondary factor to exist cannot be considered an absolute, independent reality. This is the first step the Upanishad unveils. The dreaming state, the dreamer and the mind object. Next, the 4th verse takes us into the dream state, calling it Taijasa, or Antaprajna, internally conscious. In a dream, the physical external world is gone. Yet, just like the waking state, an entire world exists there. You run, you talk, you feel emotions. But what is that world made of? It is constructed entirely out of your mind's impressions. Here the truth becomes even clearer. The objects in your dream have absolutely no baseline reality other than you, the knower. They are completely dependent on you. Thus, the insight from the waking state is reinforced here. The knowable objects, being entirely dependent on the knower, possess no independent reality. The deep sleep state, the seed of ignorance. Through the 5th and 6th verses, the Upanishad leads us deeper into the state of deep sleep, termed prajna. What happens here? There are no dreams, no desires, and no objects. The very division between the knower and the knowable dissolves. There is neither an outer world nor an inner world. What remains? The Upanishad calls it prajnanagana, a mass of undifferentiated consciousness. It is a state where all knowledge and experiences are folded back into a causal seed form. Think about it. In the waking state, the world was known. In the dream state, the mind's world was known. In deep sleep, nothing was known. Yet when we wake up in the morning we say, I slept soundly. I knew nothing. Who is it that registered that knowing nothing? Who had that experience? Even though the standard knower-knowable split wasn't active, a unified state of awareness witnessed that blankness. However, it remains a veiled, unmanifested state. Look at how beautifully the Upanishad builds this structure. It divides our experiential world into three, analyzes the nature of each, and highlights their limitations. In waking and dreaming, there is the duality of knower and knowable. In deep sleep, that division is gone, but it is masked by a lack of awareness, blank ignorance. What then is the absolute reality? If it is none of these three states, what is it? Right where we stand puzzled, the pivotal and most profound 7th verse of the Mandukya appears. This is the ultimate turning point. Until now, the Upanishad pointed at things and explained them. Suddenly, it shifts to a radical method. Neti, neti. Not this, not this. How does this 7th verse describe Turiya? The 4th. It is not internally conscious, the dreamer, nor is it externally conscious, the waker. It is not halfway between the two. It is not a mass of consciousness, nor is it unconsciousness. It goes on stripping away attributes. It is unseen, transcendent, ungraspable, uninferable, unthinkable, unnameable. Why this completely negative description? Why doesn't the Rishi just point and say, Turiya is this? Because of the golden rule we established. The moment you point to something and say, it is this, that object becomes a knowable entity to your intellect. The moment an object is defined, the old duality returns. The knower who points, and the knowable object being pointed at. Your eyes can see everything in this world. But can your eye see itself? It cannot. To see your eye, you need a mirror. But even then, you only see a reflection, not the actual eye itself. Similarly, Turiya is the ultimate eye. It is the absolute knower. It is pure consciousness, the underlying light, because of which everything else shines. You cannot light up that ultimate light with a secondary flashlight. It is self-luminous. If we try to turn it into a knowable object, we lose its very essence. Therefore, the Rishi carefully chops away every concept you might mistake for Turiya. Waking state? No dream state? No deep sleep? Not that either. When the mind drops all definitions, lets go of all anchors, and stands utterly still in sheer wonder, in that absolute silence and emptiness, the Upanishad delivers its final stroke. Shantam, Shivam, Advaitam. It is peaceful, auspicious, and non-dual. Let's understand this architecture through a modern lens. Imagine searching for your home on Google Maps. Street view, waking state, Vaishvanara. First, you are in street view. You are standing right outside your gate. You see pedestrians, moving cars, the nearby shop, and the texture of the road with absolute clarity. This is our waking state. It is filled with sensory data, but it offers a narrow view. You have no idea what lies 3 streets away. Map view, dream state, Taijasa. Now, you zoom out into map view. The individual cars and people vanish. Instead, you see the layout of the streets, the boundaries of your neighborhood, parks and hospitals. This is the dream state. It is a mental map, a conceptual framework created out of the memories of street view, night satellite view, deep sleep, /prajna. You zoom out further into satellite view, at night. Now, individual streets and buildings are completely gone. The whole country looks like a dark landscape, with cities appearing as concentrated clusters of light. Individual identities and houses dissolve into a unified mass of light. This is deep sleep, a state of undifferentiated potential. The space view, Turiya, the self. Finally, you keep zooming out, past the moon, past the solar system, into the deep silence of space, and you look back at Earth. What do you see? No streets, no cities, no borders. Just a serene, blue, self-contained sphere, glowing gently against the vast, dark backdrop. It is completely unaffected by the chaotic details happening on its surface, yet it holds everything within itself. It is Shantam, Shivam, Advaitam, peaceful, auspicious, and one without a second. The 12 verses of the Mandukya Upanishad are that zoom-out button. They systematically elevate us from the chaotic confusion of the street corner to the tranquil, absolute perspective of the cosmos. It shows you that you are not merely the person walking on the street, you are the vast, peaceful, beautiful sphere itself. The spiritual scaffolding. This structural approach reflects a brilliant psychological teaching method known as scaffolding. When building a massive tower, workers erect a temporary grid of bamboo or steel scaffolding to climb up and work. Once the grand building is complete, the scaffolding is dismantled. What remains is only the magnificent structure. Similarly, the Rishi uses the familiar scaffolding of our daily experiences, waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, so we can climb up to the height of Turiya. Once we scale that peak, the scaffolding is no longer needed. The rigid divisions of waking, dreaming, and sleeping dissolve, leaving behind only the grand, non-dual experience of the Absolute Self. Just as waking, dreaming, and deep sleep movies play out on a single blank white screen, the sounds AUM and their corresponding worlds appear and disappear against the silent background of Turiya. That foundational silence never changes. Finally, the 12th verse concludes with a magnificent crescendo. The partless, ungraspable, the cessation of the phenomenal world, the auspicious, the non-dual, such is the fourth state, which is identical to OM. He who knows this, merges his individual self into the cosmic self. Do you see the perfection? The first verse began with, Om is everything. The 12th verse finishes with, that Om is you. It is a perfect circle that brings you right back to where you started, leaving absolutely no room for confusion along the way. The ultimate lesson here is that enlightenment is not a random, accidental stroke of lightning. The Mandukya Upanishad proves that it can be approached through a systematic, logical, and verifiable process. Your own consciousness is the laboratory. Observing your daily states of waking, dreaming, and deep sleep are the experiments. This Upanishad teaches us that to solve a fundamental problem, we must look beyond surface-level details and decode the underlying structure. This applies to science, art, relationships, and life itself. It shifts our perspective from being a mere character caught inside a story, to realizing we are the author who writes it. The 12 verses of the Mandukya Upanishad are a definitive map of the path of wisdom, a lighthouse guiding us from chaotic thoughts to absolute clarity. With this light to guide us, let us continue our inward journey. I hope this exploration has sparked new insights within you. To stay connected on these profound journeys of self-discovery, please subscribe to the I Have a Cause channel. Discuss these ideas with your friends, share your thoughts in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video.